Hello and welcome to my computer science NEA testing video. Throughout this video I'm going to try to meet all the stated objectives here for my computer science interactive revision tool. I'm only going to be looking at bubble sort in this video, just as a demonstration of how different study sections and quizzes can be implemented using the tool. To start, I'd just like to mention that I'm performing this test on a copy of my original NEA file. And that's only to demonstrate how tables are to be generated during runtime. If I go into the bin debug, Net 6.0 windows, this is where the database will be created and where the tables will be saved. And I'll be using DB browser to view all of the data within that database. The first test is to ensure that all the tables are created properly and the right data is inserted. So if I hit run on this, you'll see that the interface has been built and all the different topics have been inserted into these buttons here. Now if I open the file again, where the database should be stored, you can see we now have a computer science revision tool database. And if I were to open that using DB browser, if you bear with me a second while I find the correct file, which is there, you'll see that 10 different tables have been made, and within TBL topic and TBL subtopic, they've both added all the different topics and subtopics with the primary key, the subtopic ID, in ascending order, and subtopics have the main topic that they are attached to in another column. We're going to run that one more time just to show how the tables are created using a breakpoint. This is in a class called database control, which an object is made from in the first form, which is the main menu. And it runs through all of these different functions, creating all the different tables. So if I hit run, you will see how that works. We reach the breakpoint, opens the connection, which is defined up here. That's where it's saved. That's the bin debug folder, creates the command. That's the SQL command to create the table. All the other ones are very similar ones, very similar create commands, but obviously with different foreign keys and different columns, whatever's required. And then inside a try statement, just accounting for errors if anything's occurred, it will try to execute it, in which it does successfully, and it will close it, and then that is added to the database. Secondly, I'm going to demonstrate how the create new account function works. So I've opened up the tool here. If you go to create a new account, it asks you to enter a username, in which for the testing we're going to use Murray Boyd, my name. And firstly I just want to show how it decides what passwords work. So we're going to start with the password A, B, C, D. You can't see that I'm putting that in, but that is what I'm entering right here in both of them. When you try to log in, it's going to say password needs to be 8 characters or more. So next we'll go ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the second box we'll do ABCD 1, 2, 3, in which it says the passwords don't match. This is just to ensure that the user is sure on what their password is when they type it in twice. It's more likely that they enter what they intend to. And so finally ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what both these passwords are, and we'll hit login, and the account will now have been created. The code behind this is right here. This is just where it checks to see if the passwords are the same. First it will see if the username was already taken, and then it checks if they're of a suitable length. And if that is, then it will later go and add it directly into the database. And you can see here in TBL users that yes, it has been added and the password is hashed using this function down here. And just to demonstrate that you can't create an account with a username that's already taken, we'll go with Murray Boyd again, and then we'll do a different password. We'll do 8 9s. I believe that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when you try to create it, it will tell you the username is taken. So let's now log into that account that we made. We'll enter Murray Boyd. And for the purpose of testing, I'm going to enter a password that's incorrect. We'll go ABCD 1, 2, 3 without the 4. Let's just say incorrect password. This is done using the login function, and when you enter a password, it will hash the one that you've entered, and then it will go down to the hash function, and then it will compare that to the hash password in the database. You can see here if the response, which is the hash password that you take from the database, that's this series of digits here. If the hash of password that I entered, ABCD123, does not match, then it will say incorrect password. If it does, then it will log in. So let's see what happens when the passwords do match. So ABCD1234, which is what that is right there. And when you log in, it will hash it, see that the hash is the same as in the database, and it will say logged into account, in which you get this message here saying welcome to the Interactive Computer Science Revision Tool. That's for any account that hasn't completed any study or any quizzes. The option to create an account and log into account will be replaced with logged in as and then your account name, and it will give you access to your study and quiz mark books, which when you press, it will show you all the study sections that you've done and all the quiz sections and their corresponding scores, of which I've done none because this is a fresh account. And this is a demonstration of how the recommendation box works when creating a fresh account. So if I enter the credentials that we've been using, ABCD1234, and log in, this is the find next topic function, which will find a topic to recommend to the user, or if they haven't done any, it will simply tell them to just study whatever they want. So it sets it as false when it starts, goes through to next topic found. So this will run over and over until the program has decided that this is what we're going to say to the user, hence the next topic has been found. So first it counts how many study markbook IDs are in the study markbook. So obviously there's none. So if the number of records is zero, in which it is, because you're executing upon the database this command here, it's not going to return anything because there's nothing in here, then it will simply output welcome to the Interactive Computer Science Revision Tool, and it will say that the next topic found is true and end the function. Now I'll demonstrate later on how it decides on other stuff, but for now that's simply how it works if there's nothing in the study markbook. So now let's take a look at one of the study sections. For this video I'm going to be demonstrating the bubble sort, which is a topic on its own that has no subtopics. So when you click on bubble sort, it will show you either the option to study the topic or try the quiz. And then if we run it again, just as a demonstration, if you're going to select something such as relational databases and SQL, which has multiple subtopics, when you click it, it will come up with the subtopics first, in which you can then select one, and then it will bring you to the study the quiz, or study the topic and the try the quiz screen. So next we'll be taking a look at the bubble sort study section. When I hit study the topic, it's going to pull up this page, and this is unique for the bubble sort. It generates 9 different values for a bubble sort to be operated on. This is just for the user's ease of access. It shows them what's happening, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. So when you hit next, it's going to pull up the study steps here, which have been put into the database. If I select TBL step, this is where the steps for all the different studies are stored. With a step number, topic ID, if it has a subtopic, or if it is a subtopic, subtopic ID will be there. There's every individual step and the steps there. Now that's all imported using a function in database control. So this is for relational databases. This is the bubble sort one that has just been run. Now just to demonstrate this, I've deleted all the steps from the database here, and I've logged back into my account. I'm going one more time, go to study the topic, and I've inserted a breakpoint here, which is where the bubble sort works. So it first generates a new step ID, which we'll just run through here. So this is just adding the zeros. At first, it counts how many step IDs are already in here, in which there's going to be 0. And it will add the right amount of zeros until it's of length 3. And then once this ends, it adds it to step, and it knows that the first step ID is going to be step 001, which it says down here. So then it creates a new command, and now it's going to search for a step ID where from TBL step, where the topic ID is equal to topic ID. So that's just saying, are there any steps that have been made for this topic? Hence, are there any steps for this topic? in which it will add the value, so like parameterized SQL, and then it will execute it, in which if there's no steps for this topic, it needs to insert them. So it does for I equals 1 to 7, and we use for cases here, and it will get a new ID number, which I've already demonstrated. So this is going to be step 001, and it's going to insert this here. Not going to do a subtopic ID because it's not a subtopic. And then it reaches the end of the case, adds the values, and then it will execute it, and then close the database, and then it will go again. So just to see, when I click on step, you can see it's inserted this one here, and it will go through and it will do every single one of these. You can see now, get another ID, and then come back to case 2, and it will do it and add it on, and it does it for all of them until they're all there. So now we're back on the study section after everything has been inserted into the database, and when you hit next, it will show you the first step here. If you try to hit back from now, it's not going to work. If we hit next again, we'll go through to the next step. Now there are certain steps where if it's discussing values down here, like the first 2 numbers, for something like a bubble sort, they're highlighted in green down here, which you can see from the study. We have a function called, or a subroutine called bubble sort step check, where it's just saying if the step number equals 3, then it will highlight the first 2 boxes and make them lime green, which we can see clearly here. And again for 4, it will just do the next 2 and update the list boxes. And then once we hit number 5, it will run through the bubble sort, where you can see the values that are being changed are highlighted in green, and it runs through all of them until it is in the correct order. And it does that final pass through to make sure that everything's in the right place. And then it decidedly, it's a normal bubble sort we've seen, it's just animated to show to the user. We've reached the end, so we can go to the next step. And again, it's all the stuff that's in here. And when you reach the end of the study section, it gives you the option to run a new sort, which you can just see it goes through that again. Or alternatively, you can just hit next to save it to the markbook. And you'll see down here the recommendation box has changed, saying well done on completing your study for bubble sort. That's using the function in database control right here, as I previously mentioned. So before, the number of records was 0, but now it's changed to this. So when it counts the number of records, it will equal 1's number of records, so it will just do 1, and it will run through it. And it first looks for topic IDs where the SMAR ID and the user both match, in which it will find one, so it does not equal nothing. Then it will select any quiz IDs from a quiz markbook, in which there are none. So if there's nothing, then it will find the topic name, and then right here it will return well done on completing your study for, and then the topic name that was completed, and then it will return that. And that's done txt.message.update as the user guide. That like message box is its own class, where the update function just changes the text that's inside of it. So we get that right there. And now if I'm going to access the study and quiz markbooks, when you take a look, you can see that bubble sort is clearly here. The function that retrieves these can be clearly seen here in the getData function. This is in markbook loader, which is its own separate class. That just adds the values into these markbooks. So it first does the count of study IDs, executes that, and it'll run through all of them and look for the ones where the user ID matches for the user that's logged in. And if it finds one, it will add it to this is a list box here called study list. It will add that into the items, and then it will do the same for any quizzes that you've completed, but obviously none have been completed on this account just yet. Before moving on, let's just take a look at how that bubble sort functions. So it happens on the 5th study step, which is here, in which the breakpoint comes in. First, it defines number of changes. This is just your typical bubble sort. The number of changes is to see that if you run through it with no changes, then you've reached the end. So do until no changes is equal to true. So right here it highlights as for values that are going to be changed. Those are ones that appear in green in the like animated bubble sort, and it changed the previous one to white because you're moving on to you have to get rid of the other one. Sets placeholder 1 and placeholder 2, and then swaps them around if one is larger than the other. And then there's this update list boxes function. So let's just run through this, which it does all of that. So it checks every single text box and sees if it meets any of these conditions. So we'll check if one's larger than the other, which it's not, so it doesn't need to swap. Then we'll go and update the list boxes. So this just iterates through all the different text boxes which are displayed on the screen. Now those are ones holding the values from the bubble sort. That's identified by if a thing.tag is nothing, because it looks through all the text boxes. Every other one on the form has a tag, these ones don't, so that's how you identify, and it does through all of them. And it does the placeholder list thing.tag -1. That's the list that's being like bubble sorted on. So again, it will go through every single one of them. Just going to spam click my mouse here to get through them. Then it gets through them. We have a threading.sleep. That just pauses the program for a bit. That's so that the user can actually see the bubble sort happening, as it would happen far too fast. They can see each green bit highlighted, and it refreshes the form just to make sure that those changes happen. And then it will go through to the next one, the next stage of bubble sort, and it will do it over and over until the number of changes equal to 0, in which it will terminate. So now let's take a look at the quiz section for bubble sort as well. We'll run through it once, and then I'll show how some of the code works afterwards. So it starts in the same way, saying click next to begin. This is for question number. It starts as just pending, and you notice there's no back number. You can't go back to previous questions on the quiz. So hit next. This is an example of one of the multiple choice questions that happens. So question number 1, which of these best describes a bubble sort? That is this one here. The next one is the first two. This is an example of a fill in the blank question. So you type in your answer, and the program will check it for you. So you hit next. A minimum number of comparisons for bubble sort. We're going to get this one wrong on purpose, just so I can demonstrate something in the program a bit later on. Let's say 18, which it definitely is not. This is made for exam style questions, although this one demonstrated in the exam isn't exactly, in the quiz, sorry, isn't exactly exam style. But if you were to type out a longer answer, this is the type of questions used. This is saved as a written answer in the database here, which you can see the question is right there. So enter the answer, that is O(n) to the power 2. And because this is like a written answer question, it gives the user some self-evaluation. So we'll say compare your answer with the correct answer and give yourself a score you think you deserve. That's the correct answer, and it's exactly what I put. So I'll say, yeah, I gave myself a score. Say hypothetically that in one of the other quiz sections there was a much longer answer that had to be given. This is the perfect one for it. If it's written, because you can give a correct answer and trust that the user will score themselves. They're here to revise, they're here to learn. So hopefully they'll put in the score they deserve, which I believe I do. And then it will give another question. This is a multiple choice again, in which I believe the answer is this one. See here, scored 5 out of 6. So we'll hit OK. And then you can see this right here is updated, saying well done on completing your quiz and studying for bubble sort. That is because if we look in quiz markbook now, we can see the score that I got, which is a percentage again, 83%. That's done using the save quiz function on the form behind here. And if I go into the study and quiz markbooks, you can now see 83% on the bubble sort, and completed early sections are still just for bubble sort. So that all works perfectly. Now let's just take a look at what might happen if you get a better score than your previous attempt. So let's go consecutive pairs, first 2. I know all the answers, so I'm just going to put them in. Technically I don't need to type this in because I mark it myself, but we're going to type it anyway. Score 1, and then 9. And we scored 6 out of 6. Now we can see it no longer says try going for 100%. It recognises that for all the study that I've done, which is only one, and all the quiz that I've done, which is only one, we've completed a whole topic. So it seems we've completed and mastered all the quizzes for the study we've completed. So it will just look at what the next one to do is. Linear search is the first one. I haven't done that, so it outputs that right there. And now if I take a look at studying quiz mark books, it's updated, and you can see we got 100% on the bubble sort. So now let's just take a look at how those questions are actually made and how they're put onto the form. So we go to bubble sort, in which it has just inserted all the topics. I had to delete them to demonstrate the previous example, but they're all back in there now. So when I hit next, it's going to do this find new question function, which is part of the quiz loader, which if I go into the quiz form, you can see the quiz loader has been called quiz handler. It's just what I use, so it's calls upon this class quiz loader. And first it checks. First it will hide anything that is already there. So let's just hit next to demonstrate it. So we reach the breakpoint, hides anything that might already be there. So there's a hide all function for all three of the different question types that it runs. Opens the connection, and it will do this until it actually finds the question. So first it's going to look for multiple choice questions using this next question here. That's actually the question number. So in this case, it's going to the question number is 1, and it will also use the quiz ID. So we're looking for the first question in this quiz with this quiz ID. So first it's going to look to see if the question is multiple choice, in which it will find that it is. So it will end that. So it does not equal nothing, which means it's been found. So it will close the connection, and it will start a new question using the multiple choice class. And it will pass in the question number, the quiz ID, and the form that it needs to add stuff to. So it does this new question in multiple choice. So it will show the correct answer and the 3 wrong answers, which are all buttons. And then it will do the shuffle locations, which is a Fisher-Yates shuffle. This is to move around where the correct answer is going to be every time. So it runs through the Fisher-Yates shuffle. There's only 4 items, so it doesn't need to go through it that many times. And then there's a find position. So these values in Fisher-Yates shuffle all come to a top position and a left position to put stuff on the form, which is what it does there. And then look, it's placing the correct answer on the form, and it adds the correct tags, and it selects the correct option from the database. So it's going to look there, it's going to say, well, the correct option for this one is sorting algorithm that makes comparisons. Change the text to the button, and then we'll do that for that and the 3 wrong answers as well, which you can see here. So as I just showed, we added that correct tag to the correct button. So this is the all button click function, which is basically used because all my buttons are generated in runtime. There's no way to directly say if this button is clicked. You have to look at all the buttons as like a function. So I use the tags to identify them, which is why we have sender.tag equals correct. So if I hit the correct answer, it's going to reach there and it's going to add my score and call that next question function that I've already spoken about in the quiz loader. So, next question is here, but then it calls the quiz loader. It does a similar thing for the fill in the blanks and the written answers. So although I demonstrated all of multiple choice, fill in blanks and written answer have similar things, except there's no Fisher-Yates shuffle, and they're just putting different things onto the form. With written answer as well, you'll see that when I get to the written answer stage, the first 2, this is a written answer, this is fill in the blank, 9. When I hit next, it doesn't go straight to the next question, it gives me a second to mark it. That's one of the differences with the written function. But that's just to give the user time to mark.